What is going on, everyone? It is College Football Talk. I am your host, Hunter DeLauder, and today we have Week 6 recap, otherwise known as Volcanic Saturday, because to many casual folk, this could have been a down week. A lot of big teams, a lot of the top-ranked teams were favored, and I'm not talking just one, maybe one score, 10 points maybe. I'm talking 3, 4 touchdown favorites. And a lot of them are hitting the road this week, or this past weekend. And unfortunately for some, and I'm looking at about 5 or 6, they didn't come out alive. So this is why we play the games on the grass and not on paper, because you have Saturdays like we just had where the volcanic eruption finally happened and we got upsets across the nation. Really awesome stuff. It's why this sport is the best. We'll get into all of that tonight. But first, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button, continuing to grow the podcast. You can only do that if you're hitting that red big subscribe button below. If you're new to here, hit that subscribe button. You do not want to miss any action. We're around all year long. During the season, we're twice a week. So, we're giving out recast previews, thoughts about everything going on in college football. Make sure you do not want to miss any of that. If you're a recurring guest, continue coming back, watching the videos, liking each and every podcast, and then also going out. People that are college football fans, go grab them. Tell them, hey, I know a great college football podcast. Tell them to hit that subscribe button below. It means absolutely everything for me in the podcast because it continues to grow it, which means I can get more content out for you guys. Likewise, if you're listening on Spotify, hit that follow button right there. And if you want to find me on the socials, at Hunter DeLauder or at DeLauder Hunter on Twitter /X, and then at Hunter.DeLauder83 on Instagram. So, without further ado, we have a lot to get into, so we're going to get right into it with the stunner of the day, stunner of the weekend, stunner of the day, stunner of the year, possibly in college football. Number 1 Alabama goes down on the road at Vanderbilt. Believe Alabama was sitting north of 3 touchdowns, obviously. I forget where the number closed on the game itself, but this was a game nobody was talking about across the board. No matter how popular of a sports media person you are, you were not really thinking Vanderbilt had any shot in this game. I mean, Bama was coming off possibly the game of the year against Georgia. You win that, you're going to Nashville. This is the game all the Bama fans go to. Is their Nashville trip. You get to hang out, go see a game. This game shouldn't be out. This game won't be close by the third quarter. We'll get out early, go hit the streets of Nashville, head on Broadway, and just have a great time, enjoy ourselves. And unfortunately for them, Vanderbilt came out, punched them in the mouth, and then continued to land blows all over the place. It was not just, first half where like a lot of these teams maybe will punch a team early in the mouth, maybe get another couple quick jabs in, but you go to halftime, you regroup, you keep it within a reasonable score, you come back out and you assert your dominance. Never was the case. Vanderbilt never let Bama do that. And I think that was really the most impressive thing. How even when Bama would cut the lead within 3, 5, single digits across the board, they were never able to stop Vanderbilt and then get the ball back to score, take the lead. Vanderbilt led the entire game. And for some parts of the game, a lot of people, you weren't really watching the start of the game, but like you trying to start looking at the scores. You're scrolling through the scores in the afternoon, and you see like, hold on, Vanderbilt's up 20-7 on Alabama. What? Let me turn this on. And you're just watching, and you're just seeing. Vanderbilt controlled the time of possession, controlled the ground game. They ran all over Alabama. They were making good throws when they needed to. Diego Pavia played out of his mind again, and they were able to take advantage of a weak and young secondary that still, as many turnovers as they forced against Beck last week, still has a lot of room to grow, and you saw it on Saturday. And it's a defense that's kind of predictable. And Vanderbilt, Tim Beck, Clark Lee, they were all. They knew what they were doing. This was not a one-off. Vanderbilt outcoached Alabama. They outplayed Alabama across every board, every category you could think of. Vanderbilt controlled, and you know the biggest reasons, the biggest reasons I think why Vanderbilt won. We talk about time of possession: 42 minutes to 17 minutes. Third downs. Alabama was one of the top teams in the country in third down defense. Vanderbilt was 12 of 18 on third down. Alabama could not get off the field. We just talked about how there was never a moment when Bama was able to maybe score, get a stop, and get the ball back. Never was a chance. Penalties. Bama is one of the highest, most penalized teams in the country. Another 6 penalties, 57 yards on Saturday. They're a very undisciplined team. I mean, Malachi Moore, he's a captain. Throwing a temper tantrum at the end of the game. What the hell was that? I mean, that was, I don't even know how. I don't. It's like Pee Wee stuff right there. Kicking the football out of where the ref placed it, throwing your mouthpiece, yelling at people, stomp around. Coach is telling you to get off the field, sub you out. You tell him, you shake him off, tell the guy to get off the field. I mean, what are we doing? You're a captain of not just any team, but Alabama. You are a captain of the Alabama Crimson Tide, one of the captains, and you're acting like that? What kind of example does that show to your teammates? People that look up to you. Can't happen. It's unacceptable. And you can apologize and all you want, but I mean, that's unacceptable. So, interesting if he gets, disciplined in any way. But I mean, just lacks undisciplined across the board, and that just kind of headlined it. Vanderbilt won the turnover battle. Bama turned the ball over twice. Milroe fumbled it a few times. Vanderbilt took advantage of it. Rushing, and then here you go, rushing. Vanderbilt, 166 yards on the ground. Alabama was forced to 84 yards. I mean, that's one of the better offensive lines in the country, too. Just not getting any sort of push, no movement. They were able to contain Jalen Milroe for the most part. Ryan Williams had a nice touchdown pass or a nice touchdown reception. But, for the most part, this Bama team, they put 35 up, but, Milroe's legs, which are so big for him, was held in check. They weren't able to run the ball very well. They lacked discipline, and they couldn't get off the field. I mean, that's just the perfect recipe for a disaster. And could you call it maybe just a sleepwalk type game where you're coming off the biggest win of the year, and then you just have to play Vanderbilt, and you're like, oh, little old Vandy, we'll get this, and you get shelled. Vanderbilt came ready to go, and Alabama didn't. Vanderbilt was 0-60 against AP teams all time. AP top 5 teams all time before Saturday. Now they're at 160. Vanderbilt has not beaten Bama in 40 years before that. And if you missed, by the way, I don't have the clip, but if you missed the all-time rant of the year so far on Paul Feinbaum's show by a guy, I believe his name was Legend. It's about a 7-minute rant, just freestyling it about what Bama did wrong and hating on DeBoer. If you get a chance, go check it out because it is top-tier television. It is so good. You'll laugh, you may cry, and you'll be happy no matter what you're a fan of, who you're a fan of. I mean, good Lord, that's the South for you. That's the South. It'll be interesting to see how Bama can respond defensively. That's the one thing that's killed them all year. I mean, last 6 quarters. Second half against Georgia, this game against Vanderbilt. Alabama's defense has given up 67 points. They gave up 293 yards in the fourth quarter alone to Georgia. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the secondary still has much to prove. Remember, there's a lot of freshmen or a lot of transfers. A lot of nothing's really gelled yet. You have top tier guys though, but they still have not found that cohesiveness. There's nothing that's tells me that it's improved at all really. The defense is predictable. I mean, go back. There's some clips out there. Brooks Austin really explained it well. A lot of the schematics that Vanderbilt was running was based off the same looks that Bama was giving them. I mean, Bama was not doing anything special. There was no creativity defensively, and there was no scheming, any blitz packages, anything special that would cause any sort of disruption to the Vanderbilt's offense, and Vanderbilt realized it and took advantage of it. So, I mean, we'll see how prepared they are going forward. I just don't think this is a defense that has any of those top tier difference makers that we've seen on these Bama teams as of late. It's a good group. It's a solid group at some positions, but they don't really have that top tier pass rusher. There's nobody in the secondary that scares you. They have some decent. Their linebacking group's pretty solid with Deontay Lawson, Q Russo, who's still coming back from injury. But outside of that, like, it's nothing crazy, and it's showing. And whether you believe it or not, like Joel Klatt said on his podcast, how this is just kind of like a 2018 Oklahoma team where the offense is going to have to score 35, 38, 40, 45 points because they're going to be in a lot of shootouts this year because the defense just isn't up to standard that where they usually are, and it's going to cost them. And you're going to get into shootouts like this against Vanderbilt, like you did with Georgia. And now you have multiple games now on tape where offenses of future teams are going to be able to see this. And you'll be like, okay, USF had success running the football, doing the option stuff for better part of the game. Georgia had success attacking the back end of that secondary. Vanderbilt had success running the football and getting your guys out of position. These are what teams. I mean, Bama's still going to play LSU, still going to play Oklahoma, still got to play Missouri. You still got to play Auburn. So you still have these teams. South Carolina's next up. We'll see about that one. But you still have a lot of these teams that have good enough quarterbacks that are going to be able to exploit that. So very interesting to see. It's a terrible loss if you're Bama. I don't care how good Vanderbilt is. You're Alabama. It's you can't suffer this kind of loss. You just can't. No, you can't. You have to be better prepared. They weren't. And kudos to Vanderbilt. It's a program-defining win. It's a win that nobody saw coming. And let's see if they can build off of that now. Going on. All right. Moving on is Arkansas gets a signature win against number 4 Tennessee. 19-14. This was the Saturday night game on ABC. And it was a defensive affair. It was a mix of a defensive battle and Arkansas not executing in the red zone in the better part of the first half. The first half, it was 3-0 at halftime. Arkansas led. But Arkansas had a couple miscues in this red zone. So Tennessee's defense was able to bow up. There was a few missed field goals Arkansas had. So this game could have easily been. I mean, Arkansas left probably about 10, 17 points off the board. But Arkansas's defense, I mean, this was talk about ready to go from the get-go. They were able to, that D-line for Arkansas and Landon Jackson, well, he wasn't the top tackler on Saturday night. He was living in the backfield, causing havoc, making life, uneasy for Nico Maliava, who 17-29, he didn't throw a touchdown pass. He had 158 yards. He was under duress all night long. Arkansas had they sacked Tennessee 4 times, had 4 tackles for loss. They were able to limit, outside of a long run that Dylan Sampson had, able to control the run game. And that's what Tennessee lives on. So you could stop the run and you can limit the big plays. You're golden against Tennessee. And they did that. They were able to keep their offense in the game. And because Tennessee took the lead, they were up 14-3. They led 14-10 going into the fourth quarter. And then Taylon Green, who played a pretty solid night, 266 yards, 19-27. He was able to use his legs really well to just kind of evade pressure and create stuff. But he goes down in the second half, and Malachi Singleton has to come in. And for the first 2 drives, nothing was doing anything. They weren't doing much with the ball, but their defense kept them in it. And they got a huge stop late in the fourth that gave them the ball back. And then Arkansas gets a big chunk play. And then all of a sudden, they're down in the red zone. And there was a moment right before they end up scoring a touchdown, take the lead, where a lot of people thought, or Curb Street was saying on the broadcast, how I think Tennessee let them score for sure. There was 2 guys that easily could have made a play. They just kind of stood back. They kind of backed off at the last second, let Singleton score, who scrambled in for a touchdown. And left a minute and 17 left on the clock for Tennessee offense. I mean, that's a lot. And for a second, it looked like Arkansas about did what Tennessee wanted them to do, because Maliava just makes a beautiful throw down the field. He scrambles, I believe, to his left and just launches one on a line to Dante Thorson, who makes a great catch with two guys in the vicinity, gets him all the way down to like the 30-ish. They may get another play or two. There was a botched snap. So there was a bad snap. It was either on the play call or like on the cadence or something, where Maliava doesn't really get ready for it, and it hits his hands and bounces up, and Sampson somehow catches it, who's next to him, and he runs it. So they had to burn a timeout, waste it down because of it. And then on the last play of the game, they're down at like the 20-yard line. And, everyone's on their feet, ready. A lot of the students were down, like getting ready to storm the field, and you just got to get one stop. In 6 seconds, Maliava doesn't even get a throw off. He runs out of bounds. That's just a learning moment for a guy that's first time, he's been in that spot before. You got to be better aware of the time and where you are on the field, because even if he does throw it, he was over the line of scrimmage anyway, so it wouldn't have been allowed anyway. So you just got to build off and learn from that. He'll probably see that and get it right next time. But that's just one of those young quarterback moments. Everyone has it. I don't care how good you are. That's just going to happen. But listen, this was a game Arkansas had to have. Just had to have. They realistically should have been 6-0 after tonight. 5-0, 6-0. Let me see their schedule or official record right now. Can't remember, because I lose track with these bye weeks now with everyone. They are, let's see. Let's see. Here we go. All right. They won 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. So they're 4-2. Easily could be 6-0. Yeah. So because you lost, Oklahoma State did not win that game. You lost that game, and then you just were a couple plays short for beating A&M. So Arkansas got a win that Sam Pittman needed so badly. He had yet to really get that big time win. He had a couple good wins his first year or two. His second year, 2021 season. They started off undefeated, and then they got trounced by Georgia, and it kind of teetered off after that. But this was a win he had to have. The program had to have. Just what they did. And Tennessee they can't win in Fayetteville. It's the 5th time, I think, in a row now they've lost in Tennessee or in Fayetteville. Just can't win there. They've now lost 4 in a row to Arkansas. It's just the Achilles heel to this fall's team. But, it's something now you can build off of, especially defensively, recruiting-wise. Like, see what we did, like, against one of the best offenses in the country. Like, they can use that now to build this program. And they're right now, they're right in the thick of things. 5th right now. They're tied for 5th. The SEC is a big, giant cluster bomb of just teams all bunched together. So, Arkansas, they have a bye week this week, and then they get LSU at home. And if they can win that, then you have some momentum going now. Just if they can get that one, win the Golden Boot, talk about a rock ascending into orbit. Just could be a program-defining season if they could do that and build off back-to-back top 15 wins. Be massive for Tennessee. It's a tough one. You kind of have to get over it, and you got to be ready for Florida now coming in this upcoming week. So I think they'll be fine. They're going to bounce back. I'll talk about that game next episode in our preview, but I like Tennessee in that one early. I think they're a 16.5-point favorite right now. I don't know if I'd be betting on it, but just picking wise, I'd lean the balls to take care of business there. But listen, you got to take care of business, and just kind of like how Alabama was. I think they just kind of maybe almost expected that this would kind of come a little easier, and it didn't. So, all right, moving on to the only non-upset of the weekend that wasn't really like super um, surprising. Maybe the score says otherwise, but I mean, I had A&M winning this game. I thought the crowd would be the biggest factor in that. I mean, but A&M just runs wild, splatters, whatever adjective you want to use to describe how this game went, you can go about that. 41-10 is the final. Then number 25 Texas A&M beat number 9 Missouri. Missouri dropped, I think, to 21. A&M's up to 15 now, but hey, jumped 10 spots after that. But we talked about how coming in this game, was it a lot of, we talked about how they were, I thought, so Connor Wegman started this game. I thought Marcel Reed would start. So I kind of did a preview based off that. But regardless, I think I said they needed to really run the football. I think they were going to need to try to maybe challenge a defense that hasn't really played up to standards, how some people thought they would against FBS teams. You saw what they did against Buffalo and Murray State, but when they played Boston College and Vanderbilt, I mean, they got worked a little bit. They were giving up a little over 20, I want to say close to 24 points a game. Like, I mean, they're giving up points, they're giving up yards. So would they be able to test that? They not only tested it, I mean, they had over 500 yards total offense, A&M did. Connor Wegman came back, first game back after that shoulder injury that kept him out for a few weeks. Almost 300 yards, 276. He was really efficient, 18 of 22. But it was the ground game. 236 yards on the ground. And Le'Veon Moss had himself another great day. 138 yards on the ground on just 12 carries. He averaged 11 and a half yards a carry. He had 3 touchdowns. Completely just dominated the game. And if I told you this coming into the game that they'd have 236 yards and Missouri would have 68 yards rushing, I'd say A&M probably won that game pretty convincingly. Man, they did. A&M or Missouri could not keep Brady Cook upright. 6 sacks allowed. I mean, guys were just living in the backfield all day long. It had 8 tackles for loss. Brady Cook was 13 of 31, wasn't very good. We talked about that as well. How would Brady Cook be able to, get it to playmakers? Luther Burden, Theo Weiss. He hadn't really had, they haven't really needed him to yet. Like when the game's like they're not running the ball well, they got to have the quarterback step up. Can he? And he didn't in this game. 186 yards, threw a touchdown pass. I mean, it was 34-0 halfway through the third before Missouri finally put a touchdown on the board. But I mean, this game I think's kind of solidified what maybe a lot of people are starting to think about Missouri, and that's that they might be a fraud. I don't like to say that word, but you give up, you get punched in the mouth early against Boston College, and you give up 21, you end up coming back and holding on. You survive Vanderbilt because their kicker can't kick a field goal, and then you get punched. You just get curb stomped by the yell leaders in the 12th man. I mean, I think I've seen all I needed to. We'll see if they can bounce back, but I mean, the season's not over yet. I'm just saying that I just think that we need to realign our expectations a little bit with Missouri because it's just not the team that we thought coming into the season. But as for A&M, keep on ascending. 15th ranked, they jumped 10 spots. They're 5-1, and let me tell you right now, there's a lot of people out there. You're talking about down the road with this A&M team. 5-0, 5-1 right now. They're 3-0 in conference play. And guess what? The remaining schedule looks like this. They get a bye week this week, Mississippi State. Then they get LSU at home. Then they got to go to South Carolina, New Mexico State, Auburn, Texas. Maybe. I'd pick them to win every game until Texas. And that's maybe right there because they get Texas at home. So you're talking about a manageable 6-week stretch down the to the finish line here. They keep playing like they're playing right now. This is a playoff caliber team for sure, contending for the SEC too. We'll see what they can do. They cannot let the rat poison get to their head. Bama let it happen to them. Tennessee may have had it may have had it happen to them as well. Alabama for sure. Don't A&M can't be the next victim. So moving on though to it was almost like the perfect cherry on top of the volcanic Saturday. It was the final aftershock of the day. It actually almost it was like the final aftershock. I said I was gonna say it may have been like the final eruption, but it almost was, but ended up only being an aftershock. So Miami comes all the way back, beats Cal 39-38. Game day was there at 6 a.m. that morning. Crowd was going nuts. Marshawn Lynch was smoking pot before going on as the game day picker. I mean, it was just everything was going crazy. They were telling guys to take the red ties off. Trying to think what else. I mean, Reese Davis did game day. Then he had to call the game later that night. Just what a warrior he is right there. But Miami was dead in the water. Cal had them like on the chopping block, ready to pull the lever to drop the guillotine. And they did. And as if like it was from, I think, Pirates of the Caribbean, where they caused just enough distraction to get Jack Sparrow out of there. And they did. They did. Cal had the chance to put the kill shot in, and they took their foot off the gas. They did what Vanderbilt didn't do. They let Miami back into it. Miami was down 35-10 with under 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. Cam Ward had just thrown a pick six and was one of the ugliest pick sixes in the book, throwing across their field, across your body to the other side of the field. You're just asking for disaster there, and disaster hit. And just like that, Miami is down 25. But then, in the final 10 minutes of the game, Miami stormed back, scored 3 touchdowns, and Cam Ward again was brilliant. He had 35 completions, 437 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw the 1 pick, which was the pick six, so the big no-no there. But, look at last week's game, how that ended, and what Miami had to do there. Now you look at this week, and Miami wasn't going to just win without any controversy. And once again, the ACC refs made themselves well aware of what they were doing. And it's just baffling how we got to this point. But I'm going to show you 2 clips off Twitter. So the first one is a targeting call that didn't get called. Actually, it was called targeting, and then they went to review, and then they somehow magically found enough evidence to overturn it. This would have given – this was on a third down and scramble where quarterback gets hit. It's clearly targeting. It would have given them a first down. It would have iced the game. It was under 2 minutes to go. They don't get the first down. The targeting gets overturned. Miami gets the ball back, ends up scoring, which led to another questionable no call. But here, I'm going to show you this, and we're going to talk. We're just going to see together as a podcast if we agree or disagree, because that's what we're all about here. So, trying to see here. So we're going to see this clip right here. This one is the targeting call. We're going to start it back here. Let's watch. Here, we're going to put full screen. We're going to watch. Oop, we're going to turn volume off because we can't get copyrighted there. All right, so here he is. Let's watch 31. He's going to lean with his head, and he's going to bamboozle him on the side of the head. If you didn't get it the first time, let's watch it again. Leans with the crown of his head. It's picture-perfect targeting. He gets smashed like a freaking ram on the side of a mountain. And here he goes. One more time for everyone at home. If you're listening on Spotify, go watch the Miami targeting call that doesn't get called. It's unacceptable. For one, you can't. What they did, Brock Osweiler was like, I I don't know. I've read the rule as best as I can, and I haven't found a way to or a reason how that got overturned. I don't know what they saw in that review room that overturned that, but that's I mean, you could go any view you want. If I do this and launch myself at the guy's head, that's targeting. That's 15 yards. He's gone. That's a first down. Cal takes a knee and wins the game. So that was the first mistake. And then we go on. We're going to add back the screen here. That's the targeting. Shout out T's and P's to everyone getting, it's about to get hit with this hurricane. It's no joke. If you can still evacuate, do so. If not, hunker down and prayers out to you. All right. So this was called, or this wasn't called. So this picture is the picture of a touchdown about to happen that's going to give Miami the lead. It's going to give them the lead with 26 seconds left. But they're eventually going to, this is the go-ahead touchdown. So Graham Coffey is an awesome dude for Dogs Inside. Dog Central, excuse me. If you like just football in general, follow him on Twitter. It's awesome stuff. So he puts this out. ACC refs overturned the winning Virginia Tech touchdown last week when there was no grounds to. Tonight, they didn't call one of the more clear targeting penalties. Just talked about it. We've seen all year that would have clinched a win for Cal. Then they didn't call two illegal men downfield on the game-winning touchdown. So, according to the rule book, so when does a illegal man downfield come into play? So the rule is applied for linemen so that they can't go past the line of scrimmage before the runner. Otherwise, it's known as an illegal man downfield. And so I'm no genius here by any stretch. I'm not. But I see two linemen that were down on their three-point stance that are in the end zone before the ball is in the guy's hands. What are we doing? That's another penalty that should have been called. Take the touchdown off and back him up. Now, they may score again, and then we sing Kumbaya, and we still kind of complain about the targeting call. But, I mean, we can't be doing this week in and week out. I don't care if Miami wins every game this year by 150 points. But when we have calls like this that are clearly playing a part in the outcome of these games, it needs to be fixed. Something needs to be done about it. And again, Cal, yes, they blew a 25-point lead, so I'm not really, I'm not defending them till my death because they did that. But they still should have won the game by just the targeting call and this by itself. So disappointing. I hope the officiating gets better because it needs to, especially in these games. I mean, back-to-back weeks now. I mean, the Virginia Tech game. Guy catches it. They call it a touchdown. They go to review for almost 7 minutes, and they magically find a reason to overturn it. I don't know. There was 4 dudes in there looking like they were just playing video games for something. We're calling that a review room with 4 dudes in there. But I found something nobody else in America knew. And now you have this. So I don't know. But regardless, Miami stays undefeated. Let's see if they can keep this kind of voodoo black magic going on, or will somebody eventually, put the final dagger in that. But we're moving on because I'm ranting too much. Moving on to around the country. We do this every week, depending on no matter what episode we're on. Today is recap episode, so we're gonna get in our plane. We're gonna get the propellers rolling. And we're going to take off, and we're going to start flying around the country. We're going to see all the best scores, all the other scores around the country. We're going to give a quick thought about them. Starting Athens, Georgia. I was at this game. Very good to be back in the Classic City. Hadn't been back since I was a sophomore in high school. So it was really awesome to be back. Now, Kirby Smart, not happy with the fans. I was up right near the student section. Students were leaving early, midway through the third. That's all I'm going to say. I thought it was still a hell of an atmosphere. Could have been better. Yes, it was homecoming weekend. Last few years, in homecoming games at Georgia have been a little dull. But regardless, it was amazing weather, amazing game. Dogs came out on top, 31-13. Carson Beck got back on track, 23-29, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was 20 for 20 with throws. 15 yards or less, and they ran the ball better. Now, the stats will tell you it was a pretty evenly game. Auburn didn't turn the football over. It was good to see that. Jarquez Hunter had a nice touchdown run, but Trevor Etienne got going some. They, uh, the right side of the offensive line is still an issue for Georgia. They're going to have to figure something out with that because Xavier Truss was getting eaten alive on that side. He had some dumb penalties at the end, so they're going to need to figure out that side. I thought tight end room played a little bit better. Still room to grow there. I'm still waiting to see who can emerge as the top guy in that wide receiver room. And now you have the Colby Young crap going on. Still waiting on details on that, so we'll see on that. But take that as a need more innocent till proven guilty kind of ordeal, because there's a lot of he said, she said kind of stuff in that case. Regardless of that, Georgia gets a nice win. They get Mississippi State as another game, or I'm not calling it a tune-up game because it's the SEC, but they got a nice. It's better not look ahead spot because they got Texas next week after. But Georgia gets a nice win there. UF, Florida, team I thought was going to get crushed this weekend, beats UCF 24-13. The Gators played some defense. Best I've seen them play all year. Linebacker room was flying around, and they were able to hold UF and UCF and RJ Harvey 75 yards rushing. A team that was averaging over 320 yards a game held them to 75 yards. So outstanding there. Offense looked good in this first half, got shut out in the second half. They cannot have that happen against Tennessee, or they're going to they're going to get blown out. So going to have to figure out how they're going to generate more offense at that point. But defense, let's see if they can build now, because that was a big stepping stone. And now you get another. This stretch now from UCF on is going to be nothing but really solid running games. We'll see if they can try to slow down a Tennessee offense that wants to run the football. Washington gets revenge on Michigan, avenges that national title loss from this past season, beats Michigan 27-17. Will Rogers 21-31, the second leading all-time passing yards SEC leader. Will Rogers is starting to look like that again. 271 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw a pick, but looked good. And he's played well last few weeks. So, and the one thing Washington was not able to do was been killing them was the stalling in the red zone. They've been doing a lot, but they've been doing better now last 2 weeks. So good to see that. Michigan can't throw the football. Davis Warren started. They made a switch in the second later in the game. It doesn't matter. 113 yards total passing offense. I don't know how Michigan's going to be able to generate enough wins because their defense isn't as good. So we'll see. I don't know how many more losses are in store for the Wolverines. Minnesota upsets USC 24-17. Oh, talk about Sam Pittman needing a much-needed win. PJ Fleck reeling. I mean, they were reeling. The boat was sinking. They couldn't row it anymore. And then they got a win like that against number 11 USC. Huge win for them. USC has to, dust off those wounds, cover up the wounds, dust off, anything else that's wrong with them, because they got Penn State now coming into town 3:30 this Saturday. So they better get ready for that. Let's see. Oregon Friday night beat Michigan State 31-10. Dylan Gabriel did throw 2 early turnovers in the red zone, so could have been a lot worse. But listen, if he cuts back on that, I think the offense is going to look good. Jordan James had a career high game. See if he can get going. They get Ohio State. This was the big game. The October 12th date was headlined by this game. You get number 6 Oregon, number 3 Ohio State. Let's see who wants to step up in that department. I mean, that's going to be a huge game. That's a Saturday night game in Autzen Stadium. Come on, guys. Hey, West Virginia just crushes Oklahoma State 38-14. West Virginia was at 24-0 at one point. Garrett Green looked good. They ran the ball well. And Oklahoma State continues to reel. Started 3-0. Now they've dropped their last 3 conference games. Just have no answer. They can't generate enough offense. Their offense is gross. The defense can't stop anyone. And a team that had a lot higher expectations of what they're at right now. And now, hey, West Virginia goes back home, Get Iowa State coming in. Talking about Iowa State here in a second. Boy, oh boy, and they're wearing the coal mine jerseys. 8 o'clock. Tim Brando is on the call. You never know what he's going to say. It's going to be electric. Ohio State takes care of Iowa 35-7. Not much to say there. Ole Miss bounces back nicely. They might have had a fake injury or two along the way, but they did beat South Carolina 27-3. Clemson takes care of FSU. I believe 29-13 was the final. I mean, some people thought Clemson was going to get challenged some, and the line was too much, and FSU was the play. We were all over Clemson. Florida State sucks. We knew what Clemson was going to do, and they did. They controlled the game from this jump. Never gave Florida State a chance. And credit to Brock Glenn. He played his best out there, but there's just not much to do when your receivers don't want to play receiver. They want to play defensive back, so they don't catch the ball. They just bat down. It's hard to win games like that when you don't have guys that want to catch the football. Nebraska beat Rutgers in the uglier Big 10 game, that we're accustomed to, 14-7. I believe Nebraska's punter, I checked, had 250 yards punting. So, yeah. Anyway, Penn State beat UCLA 27-11, and it's a nice tune-up before they head out west to USC. Iowa State, just talked about them, started off a little slow, 43-21, though. They got rolling, beat Baylor, and now the number 11 Iowa State Cyclones head to Morgantown on a primetime night against the Mountaineers. Boise State beat Utah State. The only reason we're talking about this is because Boise State has possibly the best player in America. Ashton Denty had 13 carries for 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's nothing new. My man has over 1,000 yards rushing already. We're only heading into week 7 on just 95 carries. He's averaging almost 11 yards a carry on the season. He has 19 touchdowns. This is unfathomable as a running back. He is at this point, he could probably stop now and be a lock for the Heisman, at least as a finalist. This is insane stuff, and we're only heading into week 7. And Boise State won again, which helps them out in the Group of 5 race. SMU gets a nice win against ranked Louisville, 34-27, moved to 5-1, just quietly hanging around in the ACC race. Pitt won again, undefeated there. Indiana stays unbeaten as well, beats Northwestern. The Fighting Sigs of Kurt Signetti in the group stay ranked, are just moving along, 41-24 against Northwestern. And here we go. Navy beats Air Force 34-7. Army beats Tulsa 49-7. That was another best bet of ours. The Midshipmen and the Black Knights are both undefeated, 5-0 to this point at the same time for the first time since 1945. This is post-World War II stuff. I mean, we're finishing off Germany and Japan, heading back here to play some football. There's a scenario out there where you could have undefeated Navy, undefeated Army, that include at the end of the year, playing in a conference title game. And that means they both beat Notre Dame. Playing in a conference title game. Someone's going to win that. And then the next week, turn around playing in the Army-Navy game. Cinema? Yes? What happens if Army wins the conference title game and the Navy wins that game? Then you have utter chaos on your hands. Talk about top-tier scheduling malfunction there, but what a time to be alive if you got both of them. At least you're getting at least one. What if you got at least one? Just top-tier stuff. We're Team Army here, though, on this podcast. We respect all of our troops out there, but we are a Black Knights podcast for sure. Anyone disagrees, hang out. You can go hang out with the midshipmen. We're Army, Team Army on this one. And hey, that was that. We've just now landed the plane. We are heading back into the airport because we got some best bets to talk about. Best bets recap. We'll do best bets on Thursday. But hey, 5-0 on the weekend, everyone. 5-0. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Guess who made some money this weekend? 13-9. We are back over 500. And we're not just back over. We're 4 games back over 500. Coming in at 8-9. 5-0. Guys, we told you. This is now 3 straight winning weeks. on the gambling market. Remember, we had Washington minus 2.5, Clemson minus 14.5, Army minus 11, UVA minus 1, and Ole Miss, South Carolina under 53.5. Those were locks, everyone. And if you wrote them, congrats, you made yourself some money. If you didn't, well, it's not too late. So we're going to be building off of that. The board is loaded this weekend. We'll have the picks ready for Thursday. So it's not too late. It's not too late. We're going to keep on rolling. We're not going to get too ahead of ourselves. We are a humble podcast because we know what it's like to go 0-4 in week 2. So anyway, we're going to finish off today's episode with winners and losers of the week. Winners of the week: Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Washington, Navy, Army, and Florida. Those are winners of the week. Losers of the week: USC, Alabama, Miami. They won, but we can't have every game coming down to you coming back because you've dug yourself a giant hole and then relying on the referees to blindly spin a wheel and just say, okay, we're gonna use that. We're gonna overturn it because we have no reason to, but we're gonna do that. Tennessee, Missouri, and Oklahoma State. We're on the verge of kicking Oklahoma State off the ledge. We already did it with Florida State. They're close. We're close to sending Oklahoma State over the ledge. It's not good, and it's not a good feeling because I picked Oklahoma State to win the Big 12. It's not a good feeling, but here we are. And sometimes you got to make sacrifices, to take the next step. So I'm hoping they don't, but at this point they might. They get another week. Let's see. But that's going to be it for college football talk today, at least. We'll be back Thursday, or I'll be back Thursday. This is a one-man production, as obviously you can probably tell. But make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast because we are on the road to 200 subscribers. We are just south of 110 right now. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button, especially if you're watching as a recurring guest and you're not subscribed. What are we doing? Hit that subscribe button. If you're new around here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. Don't want to miss anything. And if you're listening on Spotify, hit that follow button as well. Follow me on social media. Twitter @TheLetterHunter, Instagram Hunter.TheLetter83. We'll be back Thursday for college football talk, Week 7 preview. Until then, like, subscribe, share. We'll see you next time. I'm out.